All right. Hi, Kerrin. How are you?
Hello,
Hmm,
how are you today?
I'm not too bad. Let's get our interview started. So
Okay.
first, how did Tapestry, the program, make you feel?
Well, I guess it kind of gave me a feeling of excitement. When the sessions were coming up, I would think, oh, I wonder what we're going to be doing today. And sometimes I would think, oh, I think I know this thing already. But I just let myself go and just immerse myself into each of the activities. And I was inspired by the range of artists I met and how really enthusiastic they were about their own art. So I think I really let go of all the things I knew and tried new things. And what I've been left with is embroidery. And I used to do that as a teenager, the pillowcases and things. And, I even finally gave away my embroidery cotton. But when I started doing it again, I realized how much I love it. And so I've been doing it every day. I went and bought more thread. And now I've been making these little cards to send out to people. So that was something that was sort of a surprise to me, that how much I really enjoyed it. And the other thing that I took away was it was really the prompt that Angela Walcott used in the dyeing workshop, is that sometimes I'm stuck with I don't know what to draw, or I don't know how to draw, and I'm really at a loss. But actually, the idea of a prompt that accesses some feelings and the way I feel about things is really, I think, the best way for me to express my creativity. Because what I did with when I thought about, I love that thing about loving Toronto. What do you love in Toronto? And that's when I realized it was the streetcars, the sound of downtown. And that inspired me to do a panel that I felt was very artistic rather than crafty. I guess I would say that, just, yeah. So that's almost the favorite thing I did, was the picture of the streetcars in Toronto. So that was good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Uh, do you feel like you could help teach others, like your friends or family, to do some of the same things that you learned during this program, like mending or printmaking, for example, or even any of the digital tools that you've learned over the past in the program?
Well, I sort of do that anyway. I'm always wanting to share what I've learned, and I could definitely show people. I even took the embroidery. A friend does some felting, and I took the embroidery with me, and I'd given her an apron that someone else had printed on, and then whatever they did, the stuff washed out. So I said, okay, give me back that apron. I'm just going to practice my embroidery on it. So I took it, and I was excuse me, showing it to her how easy. I mean, she'd done embroidery in the past. Yeah, so with that, I embroidered all over the apron, gave it back to her so it wasn't thrown in the landfill. And yeah, so I enjoyed that. And um, the other person was Anne, who's in the program. She's in a program I have in Scarborough, and she's never done much stitching or anything. So, she would get in touch with me, and I could encourage her. And really, I said to her, it's incredible what you've done. You hadn't done anything with a needle almost, and now look what you've done. So, yeah, I can do it.
Fantastic.
And I showed her how to post on Instagram. She
Wonderful.
asked me about it because yeah. So there. So I've done that with one of the colleagues.
Wonderful. We love to hear that. Um, were there any obstacles that you faced but ultimately overcame?
And I think you probably heard this from other people too, the crocheting. I don't know how to do it. And the instructor was so patient, but at first I couldn't figure it out. I was doing it the wrong way, but I stuck with it and I did figure it out and it was okay. But there's probably other things too that it would be better to see. Um, yeah, and I think the Zoom session on the fabric dyeing, it was not really long enough, or I wasn't well enough prepared. I mean, it still worked out fine, but I think that session is hard to do over Zoom. So I guess it's Zoom that is the obstacle, not anything else.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, how has tapestry affected your feelings of connection, not only within the arts, but with your fellow seniors in the East End?
Well, first of all, I think it's the connection with East End Arts is so amazing for me. I know I live in the East End, Scarborough, not in the your local area. But I definitely appreciate the connection, like both with the program last year and this one. It really has just feeling connected to an organization that's so encouraging, and you feel like you're known. And yeah, and the artists that I've been able to be exposed to, one of them, Sarah, who I'd seen for the needle felting, I was able to work through you guys and get her to do something for us, because otherwise, how would I meet anybody? Like, as an ordinary person, you don't really um, meet anybody. And I think I'm just checking something here. Okay. The other thing is feeling connected with the people in the program. That's been more difficult because I think I haven't been able to attend anything. There have been a couple of sessions, and everybody isn't in the Facebook group. So for the people who in the Facebook group, people are very welcoming and say good job, and that's good. And yeah, there's a sense of community there. And I think one thing I forgot to mention earlier about um, the feelings or what I've taken away from Tapestry, the whole idea of having a joint sense of purpose. We're all working together on a project. I think, I worked for many years, and I worked with teams of people, with other people, and I really miss that a lot now that I'm retired. And especially in COVID, and it's still with us, it's very hard to connect with people. So having this joint sense of purpose, we're all working on something together. And for me to have a goal every month, oh, I've got to get this square done. And I also like the idea that it was going to be used somewhere. It's one thing to learn these things, but it's like sustainability. What do you do with the things you've made? We all have so many things. So I was always excited to think, okay, this panel's not staying with me. It's going to be into the world, which makes me feel proud. And yeah.
Mm, that warms my heart.
It does. What am I going to
Um,
do when it's over? Have you got another one coming up?
we're waiting on the grant.
Yeah.
Last question. Why is sustainability so important within textile art?
Reuse, reduce, and recycle. I mean, what more is there to say? And I think that I feel that, one of the first session was on mending and that sort of thing. And I thought, well, a generation that you have of seniors, we grew up with mending things and not having fast fashion. But it was really quite striking when we had the session at the beginning. And since then, it makes me even think of reusing what I have. That's where I thought of for the panel, for your reusing the curtains. Like, I don't want to throw them out, but I don't know what to do with them. So, and everything I used in the sessions are out of the bins of fabric that I have. So yeah, it's just like we don't even need to ask that question hardly. But yeah, I think this reminds us and gives an idea of what we can do. And even, I've been going online and looking at things, and as people used to do, unraveling sweaters. And you grew up in a community, I think, where people, like, I've got the quilts from my grandmother that were of all I think they looks like men's suits or something, like whatever people had, because you couldn't, back in those days, it was, where would you get fabric? Like, you couldn't get it. So yeah, so it's very, very important.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to answer some questions, Kerrin. And we can't wait to see you back with some other programs in the future.
Okay, well, good luck with all this and talk to you later.
Later.